We're off on a hunt, we're getting calm with horses, and we're going to get Bloodshot with My Spy. I'm Van Connor.
And I'm Jonnie Hurn, and this is Off Screen, your 7-day guide to everything movies.
Boom.
Groovy.
Welcome to Off Screen, let's get cinematic. And we've got to start this week, Mr. Hurn, with the sad news that the coronavirus has taken out Forrest Gump.
It's taken our favourite, Tom Hanks. Everyone's favourite, Tom Hanks, has been struck down by the horrid killer disease.
He and Ruth Wilson are Ruth Wilson? Rita Wilson. Ruth Wilson's very different.
Now that would be a story.
That would be
if Tom Hanks and
interesting.
Ruth Wilson had. That would be a story.
Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson are self-isolating after having tested positive. That's come out this morning. That's very sad.
And well, it's delayed the new film, the Baz Luhrmann's biopic of Elvis Presley. He's playing Colonel Tom Parker, and they were due to start filming on Monday the 16th, and now they've had to push it back because somebody in the crew got the virus and gave it to Tom Hanks, apparently, or something like that.
Yeah, because he was in Australia, wasn't he, Tom Hanks? Is that why he was there? He was playing.
Yeah, he was out there, and his wife Rita was performing. She's an opera singer. She was singing, and they just suddenly sort of fell ill, and so they obviously got it over there.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, okay. So let's talk then about our first film of the week. Let's talk about Calm with Horses. Did you have the pleasure of seeing Calm with Horses?
I have not seen Calm with Horses, but I do like to be calm with horses. I'm assuming this is a nice, gentle story about horse riding.
No, quite the opposite, in fact. So this is an Irish criminal drama from Nick Rowland. It stars. Do you remember Lady Macbeth a few years ago with Florence Pugh?
Yes.
Do you remember the love interest in that, Cosmo Jarvis?
Yes.
Well, see, she went on to massive things.
Oscar nominations.
Yeah, and he has and more importantly, a Marvel movie. But he's sort of faded into relative obscurity in the 4 years since he's back. And he's twice the size of the man he was. He's a hulking man now. And here he plays Doug. I think it goes by the nickname Arm. His name's like Doug Armstrong, and they call him Arm. And he's a former boxer turned low-level enforcer for a sort of drug-dealing Irish street-level criminal family. Best represented by, is it Barry Keoghan or Keoghan or? I think I've heard Kean somewhere. Kean from 1917 and Killing the Sacred Deer. And the idea is that Arm is struggling when he is asked to kill a man in the name of the crime family, to kill a man who has sexually assaulted a young woman who's part of the family. He struggles with that. He asks the man to run away, spare me having to kill you. But at the same time, he wants to get out of this life. He has a young autistic son. He has an ex-partner that he feels quite affectionate for. And he wants to sort of take them away and give them the life that he feels, they deserve.
Look, let me tell you, Jack, tomorrow. I'll take him home there. Just him and me, no Davers, no nonsense, right?
I don't know. I don't think you could cope. It's not that simple.
Well, let me show you. Jack loves it here. Don't you? He still loves it here. Let me show you what I can take care of him. Try, nurse.
So Cosmo Jarvis, he's still got the chops. I didn't know, is he Irish? I'm not entirely sure, but I never got that impression from Lady Macbeth.
I've no idea.
No, not a clue.
Does it matter?
Not at all, but I will say this is properly awesome.
Is it?
This is a really good movie.
It's a story that's been done before. The idea of the sort of the mob heavy repenting and wanting a different life. I mean, there's the Viggo Mortensen film a couple of years ago.
Was that Eastern Promises? Was that one?
No, there was that one, and there was another one that he did as well.
History of Violence?
Yeah, no,
the Cronenberg one,
something like that. Yeah. And so I mean, it's been done, this kind of idea. So I wonder, how does it rank up against others? I mean, what's different about it?
To be honest with you, it's the setting that sets this apart, I think. Setting it in Ireland the way it's set and utilising the rural environments as well as the more downtrodden urbanite ones. I think that's a really good balance. The cast as well set this apart, particularly Ned Dennehy, who I think is playing something. He's playing one of those roles that usually goes to your sort of Brian Cox type, but it's just something more grimy and dirty about it. Barry Keoghan, a winner as always, but these cast Cosmo Jarvis' show. I remember when Lady Macbeth came out saying, pay attention to this cast, they're going to be big. I was half right. It would be nice if I could be fully right and Cosmo Jarvis could get his time in the sun as well. Gripping, very, very violent, but very soulful, very nuanced at times as well.
And it's a feature debut, director debut?
I believe so. I think, to be honest, I think Nick Rowland comes from a background of short films. I'm going to look that up now and be proven entirely wrong. No, he's from shorts and a couple of episodes of TV shows like Ripper Street and Cuffs. But I think as far as feature debuts go, a really solid one. It's got gristle, it's got heart, it's got spirit. The performance, as I say, from Cosmo Jarvis is the thing that sets it apart for me, but also Barry Keoghan as well, who I hadn't seen in a film for a little while, and I very much enjoy his weird, unusual, quirky presence, even though he is playing something a bit more conventional here. I say I would give it's a 2 thumbs up from me, absolutely. Another film that I'm going to give 2 thumbs up to, and one we've got to talk about very briefly because we haven't got time to fit everything in this week, and I know you've seen this as well. We've got like 2 minutes to talk about this. Misbehaviour, the story of the 1970 Miss World pageant in London, which was the first time there was a black winner of the Miss World pageant, I believe, who is played here by Gugu Mbatha-Raw. It is mostly about the female activists who besieged.
Well, it was the creation is around about the time that the women's liberation movement started. And so Keira Knightley plays this typical Keira Knightley plays this very bookish kind of character.
Sally Armstrong, I want to say.
Sally Armstrong, and she ends up she goes as a mature student, and she ends up getting involved with this group of activists, led in part by the brilliant Jessie Buckley.
How good is Jessie Buckley?
Oh, she's good in everything.
She's amazing.
It doesn't matter what she does. She's brilliant in everything. And she's consistently the best thing in everything I see. And so she plays this very spiky young activist. And they get together and with a bigger group decide to target the 1970 Miss World contest, which is run by a character called Eric Morley, played genius performance by Rhys Evans. So funny as this very misogynistic, sexist, clearly sort of 1970s type character. 1970s character talking about how if their figures are not 36, 24, 36 or whatever, then there's no point and all this sort of that. I mean, it's just. He's brilliant, but it shows. Really, I mean, some of the humour, it's very funny. Some of the humour is very
biting,
bit cringy. Because it makes you think, should I be laughing at this? And then you think, well, yes, because this is the way people were 50 years ago. And so we're laughing at how we used to be as a society. And we can say, well, look, we've moved on now, so we can laugh at them. We're not sort of, laughing with them. And and it's I think it's got a lot of layers as well. The way that they connect the sexism storyline with the racism story, I think is very, very clever.
How many thumbs up, thumbs down from you?
I give it a 1.5 thumbs up.
1.5. I'm going to give it a solid 2 because I absolutely loved it. I think they should show this in schools. It's that kind of film. I think you should show this to 12-year-olds of both genders and basically say, here is a document of how the world was 50 years ago. If you think any of these things, maybe change your worldview. Speaking of changing worldview, let's talk about the new film from Blumhouse, which has arrived after much, much controversy, led in no small measure by Donald Trump, of all people. It is The Hunt, starring the likes of Betty Gilpin, Ike Barinholtz, Oliver Queen from Smallville, Emma Roberts, Hilary Swank, Dennis from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And the idea, it's a latest adaptation of The Most Dangerous Game, isn't it? But, humans being hunted for sport. But here there's something of an inversion where the people being hunted are effectively the right-wing Republican types, and the people hunting them, the rich elites, are the Democrats.
There has to be a reason they chose us.
I'm not going down without a fight. War is war.
You have no idea what you're up against.
This time, they picked the wrong woman.
Game of survival.
I'm gonna rip you to pieces.
We'll see.
So it's the most direct-to-DVD feeling of all the Blumhouse efforts to date. They've run things like The Purge and obviously Get Out as well. So they've run sort of the spectrum. And this feels very, very DTV, as we used to say. But having said that, trashy good fun. The subversion of playing it that way around politically is mined for both satire and just outright straight comedy. There's a lot of gentle ribbing about how these characters will effectively think nothing of shooting a Republican in the face, but then feel really bad about having accidentally used a racial slur while doing it. And like that kind of humor is absolutely fantastic in there. Like, and he makes a quip about, oh, climate change not being, how can you say that? No, climate change not being, oh, don't say that. You know, I love that kind of humor. It really goes for it. I can see why someone like Donald Trump would take issue with the movie, because effectively, although weirdly, his lot are the good guys in this. So
it reminds me of there was a Monty Python sketch where the gentry go out shooting and they go hunting for peasants. So it reminds me of that, and I'm glad that Glenn Howarth is in it. Dennis from It's Always Sunny.
Yeah, that was his name.
Because he deserves to be in a lot more. It's my favourite TV comedy, and it's the kind of character that he plays in that, as a sort of very brutal right-wing sort of Republican. I think this looks. I mean, it looks brutal, it looks vicious. I think it looked quite fun as well. I'm going to give it a go.
I think you should. I think you would very much enjoy it. To be honest, for me, because of how just kind of ropey and straight to video it does feel at times, it's only a 1 thumb, but it gets
the other one's been cut off.
It gets an extra half though for just kind of how grisly and gleeful and amusing it is.
Well, I give it 1 thumb up for having Glenn Howarth in it, even though I've not seen it. So.
That's absolutely fair. And we're back, and we're going to keep it theatrical, and I think we'll get a little Bloodshot, Mr. Hurn. Are you a Diesel fan? Are you a Vin Diesel guy?
Bloodshot eyes? Are you talking about?
Well, his eyes do get bloodshot at one point. It never comes up. It never comes up in the film that there's a reason for him having bloodshot eyes. It just gets dropped in as a visual thing later on. But this is based on the Valiant comic from the 90s. It's about a character, Navy SEAL Special Forces Delta Force type guy named I think his name's Ray Garrison, and he goes on a mission, he takes out the big bad, and he goes on vacation with his gorgeous wife, and, on the Italian coast. And while they're there, they are besieged by, SWAT teams working for some other unnamed villain who basically kill the wife and then kill him because he won't give them information. He wakes up having been, brought back to life. He's cybernetically augmented. His body is filled with nanotech that makes him invincible and like super strength and super speed and all that stuff. And he got complete amnesia. He starts to get his memory back in drips and drabs. And as he does, he sets out for revenge on the guy who, did all this to them. However, there may not be such a straightforward explanation for everything that's happening to him.
If I was dead yesterday, I wouldn't be able to sleep either.
Nah, I had a nightmare. Which doesn't make any sense, because how can you have a nightmare if you have no memories?
Trust me. Soon you'll remember enough to wish you could forget it again. I'm sure there's someone out there in the world who cares about you a great deal. You just don't know it yet.
I hope so.
So that's Vin there dealing with how do you have nightmares when you have no memories, which might be as close as this movie comes to having a soul. I would say.
Sounds like I would have nightmares watching this.
You would.
This doesn't in any way interest me.
Did you see Upgrade when it came out?
I quite liked Upgrade.
Right.
Yeah.
Imagine Upgrade meets like Edge of Tomorrow or Gamer. But it's nowhere near as good, because Upgrade was fantastic.
It was a great idea.
Yeah, but I say this is no Upgrade. I just had to look up the director. It's Dave Wilson. This is his feature debut, and he's a visual effects
artist. Is he related to Ruth Wilson and Rita Wilson? Tom Hanks, his wife and lover.
Sadly, and potential brother-in-law at least. But no, he's a visual effects designer who's designed Avengers: Age of Ultron. He's also worked on video games, particularly the Star Wars video games.
Well, that would explain the look of it.
Yes, and it does very much look like that kind of film. I mean,
so this to me, this sounds like the sort of thing that would be better as a video game than a film.
You would not be far off, to be fair. I think I said to you earlier, if we saw this on DVD in 2002, you would probably quite enjoy it. If you're watching it on a cinema screen in 2020, it feels derivative, it feels a bit old hat. Vin Diesel just plays it like a complete lunk, which to be fair, that's kind of his thing, isn't it? Guy Pearce is doing, stock villain 4B, he's playing that play. And the only real heart and soul in any of this comes from Lamorne Morris from that TV show New Girl. He plays Winston in New Girl, who gets this kind of Cockney Jack the Lad type, and I'm like, okay, that's a way to play this. And he does steal the show. He does. There's some half decent action beats in there. It does feel a lot like they're setting up for a franchise that they're never ever gonna get. But then again, is that not every, kind of semi-blockbuster in the 2010s?
Yeah, everything wants to set up a franchise now, don't they?
Exactly.
He was in a failed franchise to start with Triple X.
Is it failed though? Because they are making a fourth one now.
I know, but.
But okay, so let me talk really quickly. I'd say one thumb just for being schlockily enjoyable from me, but I couldn't, in any good sense, give it any more than that. I want to talk really quickly though about Levin Atkins' new film, And Then We Danced, which is about, I think they're a Ukrainian dance company, Modern Dance. It's about two male dancers who, a newcomer and sort of a up-and-coming prodigy type, who encounter each other in this dance company, spark an attraction between them, and obviously pursue it. Something I had we haven't got a clip, obviously, because it's completely in foreign language. Not something that we could really pull off on audio, I don't think. Not without the subtitles. I thought a genuinely moving and wonderful film. Something I think you would very much have enjoyed as well. I know you like a good foreign language drama, as I do.
Yeah.
Especially one that's got really great performances, one that has a nice sense of artistry to it. Also, very strangely, this week we seem to have been shown numerous films about modern dance.
Well, do you know, modern dance is a huge thing. My nephew is a competition dancer, and he travels around in competitions. He's in his late teens, and my daughter absolutely loves doing modern dance and hip hop and things like that. Yeah, it's become a really big thing. Street dancing has become really kind of de rigueur.
This is kind of the crossover point. This kind of works on that threshold where where traditional dance and modern dance start to overlap, injecting elements of modern dance into. But again, it's all played off against this forbidden love story, because obviously this falls into the sort of Russian sensibility, and we don't really consider that. Or those who us in in the Western world, we would think nothing of men in the dance world. Obviously, homosexuality not really a thing. We just sort of assume that that's kind of vaguely commonplace. Well, considering how into dance Russia is, never considered that in my life. I have now, but 2 thumbs up. I thought this was genuinely brilliant. Something I would absolutely watch. I cannot recommend you. I say you would genuinely love this because it's that kind of drama that I think that would keep you interested.
I'll have to check it out.
No, I wholeheartedly recommend it. Bakshivalishvili as Irakli, I think his name is, as well. I think he plays. There's a certain cockiness to him that I really liked. I thought that was a great performance. But I'm trying to pronounce this name correctly. It's Levon Gelbakhyani as Marab in the lead, arguably the lead. I think he's absolutely tremendous. Okay, so let's talk then really quickly about a film I know we've both seen.
Yes.
Let's talk about My Spy. New movie starring Dave Bautista, Ken Jeong, Kristen Schaal, and a 9-year-old girl in which a CIA agent has to do a surveillance assignment. He's surveilling, is it the estranged niece?
It's the widow of a French terrorist whose brother had killed him. And her daughter, the daughter of
the brother, so the niece of the terrorist, yeah.
And they're hiding out in Chicago, and the CIA send a failing agent to go and to monitor them, to spy on them secretly. And
the little girl very quickly sort of susses them out.
The 9-year-old girl busts them within about a day, and then blackmails him into becoming her friend.
Hey, Mom. I was thinking, since you can't take me to Parents and Special Friends Day tomorrow at school, maybe JJ could take me.
I don't think that's the best idea.
Not the best idea.
Why not?
Because I'm sure he's very busy.
Very busy.
He's not. He's unemployed. He just sits around all day watching TVs.
Sophie, that's not very nice.
No, not nice.
It's just everyone else has someone to bring, and you said you can't get out of work, and I'm not going to have anybody. And I'm going to be the only one.
So 9-year-old girl and Dave Bautista there on fine form. I actually had a really good time with this. Not in a sort of traditional, like, I want to see this on July 30th with a big bucket of popcorn and nachos on, a big fireworks summer blockbuster type thing. But as a sort of, cheap and cheerful, family-friendly, wrestler does a kids' movie kind of a thing.
I really dislike when people turn up to the cinema late, okay? It really bugs me because it's very important to watch the opening of a film because usually the opening of a film tells you an awful lot of very important information.
That's a pet peeve of mine as well.
However, with this film, I suggest you turn up 10 minutes late, okay? Because the first 10 minutes are completely pointless. It starts off with this big action sequence of Dave Bautista supposedly in Pripyat in Ukraine.
Chernobyl,
in Chernobyl.
Isn't it? Yeah, Chernobyl,
there's a big caption. There's an abandoned warehouse, and a caption comes out that says, Pripyat, abandoned reactor 3 Chernobyl. And anybody who's seen the TV series Chernobyl knows that's not what it looks like, okay? So the first 5 seconds annoyed me. And then there's this ridiculous sort of plutonium arms deal, whatever, when it then turns out that he's a CIA agent. And there's a big shootout and whatever, and then he gets a rollicking from his bosses back in Langley.
Yeah.
And I'm watching this and I'm thinking, what is this rubbish? Am I going to have to sit through an hour and 40 minutes of this absolute tosh? I thought it was really poor. It wasn't funny. I just thought, oh, it's just lame action. I thought, oh, God, I'm going to really hate this. And then it cut to the kid.
And it becomes a different movie, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's an entirely different film. Just walk in when the bit with the kid starts, or if you're ever going to watch it on streaming or DVD or whatever, fast forward until you get to the kid, because that's when the story starts, and that's when it gets funny and good.
I'm going to respectfully disagree, because those first 10 minutes feature a car chase set to a Britney Spears pop classic and a brilliant reference to the movie Notting Hill.
Okay,
which
I watch the opening sequence after you've watched the film as a DVD extra kind of thing.
I think, to be honest, it's got the chuckles. It's got just enough heart to work. I mean, say it is a marginally better version of The Pacifier.
There's
Nothing
some
more.
Very funny lines, particularly the references to other films.
Yes, it's very knowing. I think you and I said at the time, once it gets into the groove of knowing what it is, basically when the kid comes in, the movie takes off a lot faster. It basically ramps up at that point.
Essentially, it's a family movie, and so when it starts out as this sort of big action movie, but with this sort of childlike humour to it, it doesn't quite work. It feels wrong.
That's the pacifier. That's when it's being the pacifier.
That's why it needs to start with the kid. Then you know it's a kid's film, because whenever the age of the lead character essentially is the target audience of the film.
Yeah.
And so if your lead character, if you start off by telling the story through the eyes of a 9-year-old kid, then that's the audience you're going for.
Yeah.
But the fact that it starts off through him, it makes it out to be a different film than it is to start with. And that's why I hated the first 10 minutes. Once it got into the actual storyline, after a couple of minutes, I thought, okay, well, I don't hate this anymore. And then, another 5 minutes, I'd sort of smirked a bit, and then I sort of chuckled a bit, and then by the end of it, I was laughing out loud, bellyache.
We were actually. By the end, we were having a good time. So, how many thumbs up from you?
Well, I give the film 1.5, but it loses that half of that first 10 minutes. If it didn't have the first 10 minutes, it'd have 2.
Well, I mean, just for the Britney track, for the Britney car chase.
It's a nice idea, but you could have put that in another place.
I know. I'm going to go with 1.5 as well. I think it's worth checking out, especially if you've got young girls in your life who are the age of the character. Yeah. It's absolutely brilliant. I like the chemistry between her and Bautista. I think that's a lot of fun. Although I think you and I said that there were other wrestlers that I think would have played this better.
Yes.
Particularly Cena.
Would have got the comedy a bit better. Yeah.
I think so. And now a segment we like to call Off Screen Pays the Bills. Hi, Johnny.
Hi, Van.
So you do a lot of international driving. You're a man of some world renown.
I've driven in a few countries, yes.
So driving in the US,
yes.
It can be a costly affair if you break down. I've been there. I mean, even in the UK recently, just this last week, I've had car trouble. And boy, did I wish I had some kind of vehicle protection plan to see me through. But if you're in the US... we've got just the sponsor for you, so we want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Endurance, who offer vehicle protection plans that offer coverage to shield drivers across the US from, the historically high costs of auto repairs. So they pay mechanics directly for parts and labour, and they cut out the middleman, so you don't have to deal with the faff. We've all been there, right?
Leaves you more time for your holiday.
Exactly, yeah. So Endurance is rated the #1 vehicle protection company by Consumer Affairs. They offer the best customer service in the industry, and they stay with customers every step of the way from quote to claim. So as I say, I've had my own incident this past week. I had to replace the motor in my car window, the electric window.
Oh, that's tricky. I had to do that once.
Oh, God.
I destroyed the door.
Did you?
Yeah.
It was stuck open. I had to board it up, and it was windy, and the car alarm kept going off. I had to figure out how to disable my own alarm. It was a nightmare. So for more, it wouldn't have happened if I'd had vehicle protection plans, obviously. But if you want more information about Endurance's vehicle protection plans, you can visit endurancenow.com/offscreen. And remember, insurance plus endurance equals total protection. And welcome back, and now we're going to keep it on the couch, I think. We'll take it to the small screen and give you some movies you can catch on Freeview for the next 7 days, Mr. Hurn. So I believe you may have seen our first offering for this week. It is Sausage Party from 2016, which is showing on Dave on Saturday night at 10 p.m. Did you have the pleasure of
that lovely kids movie that you definitely want to be watching with your 5-year-old because it's all about sort of cartoon sausages and and what 5-year-old kid doesn't like to eat like to eat sausages and burgers and things. It's a great kids movie.
What you're saying is true. I gotta tell everyone.
Very noble little sausage, but also very pointless. No one will believe you.
I have to try. Everyone will die otherwise.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Me, right?
Wait, do you guys have any proof of this?
Go to the dark aisle. Beyond the ice.
Why? What's in that aisle?
Oh, you'll see. But I warn you, once you see that, it'll you up for life. Good luck. Have fun.
As the bleeping will tell you in that clip, no, do not watch this with children. It is fantastic. I mean, it's an R-rated adult animated film.
Cartoon. Yeah, it's South Park, really.
It is that kind of thing, isn't it? It definitely goes down the route of like something almost like Team America level brutal at times. It's really out there. And let's be honest, this does at one point involve a food orgy, and not in the way that you think. I can't recommend that one highly enough. That's on Dave, Saturday night, 10 p.m. On Sunday, though, changing the tone entirely. Let's get is it Austinian, did I say?
Austinian.
Austinian?
Yeah.
It's got Austinian with the 2005 adaptation by Joe Wright of Pride and Prejudice, starring Keira Knightley, Matthew Macfadyen, Donald Sutherland, I believe Rosamund Pike was in this, Kerry Mulligan was in this, Jenna Malone was in this. This is on Channel 5 at 3:45 in the afternoon, and, well, it's Pride and Prej.
Oh, Mr. Bennett, how can you tease me so? Have you no compassion for my poor nerves?
Oh, you mistake me, my dear. I have the highest respect for them. They've been my constant companions these 20 years.
Papa, is he amiable?
Who? Is he handsome? Who?
He's sure to be handsome.
With 5,000 a year, it would not matter if he had warts and a leer. Who's got warts?
I will give my hearty consent to his marrying whichever of the girls he chooses.
So will he come to the ball tomorrow, Papa?
I believe so.
My ex-girlfriend hated it when I would refer to Pride and Prejudice as Pride and Prej.
Really?
She was an English teacher. So
did you refer to the crossover film as Pride and Prej in Zoms?
Pride, Prej, Zom.
Yeah.
Yeah, or PPZ I used to call it. Yeah, I used to call it PPZ. But also, I'm going to be really honest, actually something I've become a bit of a sucker for, because 10 years with an English teacher, I've seen every version of Pride and Prejudice, so I quite like this version. Hated it when I first saw it, really like it now. I love Donald Sutherland as Mr. Bennett, as you will have heard in the clip. Matthew Macfadyen, I think, quite works as Mr. Darcy, and also Keira Knightley, pretty well cast as Jane.
I think there are a lot of people who don't like Keira Knightley. Oddly, a lot of women don't like Keira Knightley.
I had this exact conversation with Bex this week, and she denies it entirely. Yeah,
a lot of women do. I had a conversation just yesterday with somebody, a female, and she really just irrationally dislikes Keira Knightley. I think she's great, and in the right role, I think she's excellent, and she was very good in this.
I agree. So, but you can decide for yourself.
I think it's better than the recent Emma that was out.
Yes,
it was certainly more relevant than that.
I think so, definitely. So you can find out what you think of Keira Knightley's performance at 3:45 on Sunday afternoon on Channel 5. Monday, a movie I loved, and I believe this was my birthday film in 1996.
Wow.
It is Jim Carrey's The Cable Guy, written and directed, we like to forget, by Ben Stiller.
Yes.
In which Jim Carrey is basically sort of like a psycho thriller, but done as a comedy, with Jim Carrey as a stalker cable guy. Here is his first interaction with his would-be victim, played by Matthew Broderick.
You're offering me a bribe. What you have just done is illegal. And in this state, if convicted, you could be fined up to $5,000 or spend 6 months in a correctional facility.
Oh, please. No, that was dumb. I was just making conversation. Forget it.
I'm just jerking your chain. You are too easy. Wake up, little snoozy. Smell the smelling salt. I'll juice you up.
I love Jim Carrey in this.
Oh, he's got that great coach. I think this was this like his second or his third film? He came very quickly after The Mask.
I think this was the fourth. I think it's Ace Ventura, The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, then this. This is the first one he got paid $20 million for. That's the thing I remember
really
it for.
slated as well at the time.
It
I remember,
did.
and there's a great gag in The Simpsons about Homer Simpson saying trying to rip up the script because he said it was the script that nearly ruined Jim Carrey's career. But I really like it, and a lovely little turn from a young Jack Black in there as well.
Yes, indeed.
It's funny. It's a great kind of idea of the kind of the nerdy friend, somebody who kind of latches onto you that you don't really want them to. A little bit like My Spy we were just talking about with the little kid and the CIA agent. It's like that. I thought it was funny. It's not meant to be in any way intelligent or intellectual, but it's just a stupid knockabout comedy.
I love it. It's got some great Star Trek references, and it introduced me to what is still to this day one of my favourite ever songs, which is the Primitive Radio Gods song, Standing Outside a Broken Phone Booth with Money in My Hand, which is a genuine classic. Find out for yourself. 7:05 p.m. Monday night on Sony Movies. Here's a film I'm betting you probably didn't see. Well, we have not got a clip. In fact, we've got a couple we haven't got clips for. Tuesday night on the Horror Channel, 9 p.m. Frozen. Not the Disney one.
Okay. I was going to say that because I was wondering whether that was sort of misscheduling there.
No, I mean, it would be strange if the Horror Channel did show, let it go, let it go. It would be
if you have young kids, you've heard that song enough times, it becomes a bit of a horror movie.
Yeah. This is three kids on a ski lift.
I have seen this
film. Have you seen this one?
Yes.
They get stuck there for the weekend in midair. Well, the wolves circle below them.
Yes.
Oh, it's brutal.
It's very good.
I loved it.
I really liked it.
I made my sister watch it when she was going on a ski trip, and she didn't thank me. Just put it that way, she didn't thank me.
It's one of those great kind of dilemma films of what would you do in that situation. You can't sit there all night because you're going to freeze to death, but you can't jump down because you're going to get eaten by wolves. Exactly. So what do you do?
Well, you're going to jump down, you're either going to break your leg and the wolves get you, or the wolves are just going to get you. But at 9 p.m, Horror Channel, Tuesday night. Wednesday, Sony Movies, 9 p.m. A movie I adore. We've talked about it before on this show. It is the Jerry Bruckheimer, I think it was 2000, action romp, Gone in 60 Seconds, starring Nicolas Cage, Giovanni Ribisi, Robert Duvall, Will Patton, Vinnie Jones, Angelina Jolie, Christopher Eccleston as the villain, and boy is he fun in this. Have to steal 50 cars in one night. What's not to love? I mean, I thought it was a great time. This one.
Do it in an hour.
Yeah, I would.
What are you worried about? We've got to do for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. So 9 p.m. Sony, and then over to 5 Star for Thursday night, a movie I adore. 8 p.m. Thursday night. It's The Wedding Singer.
I woke up this morning and I realized I'm about to marry a wedding singer. I am never gonna leave Ridgefield.
Why do you need to leave Ridgefield? We grew up here. All our friends are here. It's the perfect place to raise a family.
Oh, yeah. Living in your sister's basement with 5 kids while you're off every weekend doing wedding gigs at a whopping $60 a pop?
Once again, things that could have been brought to my attention yesterday!
Remember when Adam Sandler was this much fun?
I was just going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
I remember when he was funny. He works really well opposite Drew Barrymore because he did it again in 50 First Dates, which I really liked. Adam Sandler gets a lot of stick. He's made some really funny films.
His 90s comedies rank amongst one of the best hot streaks any comic actor has ever had in film. And you look at things like, because I always champion the film Bulletproof, in which he teamed up with Damon Wayans, and then obviously things like Happy Gilmore, The Wedding Singer. Was never a big Billy Madison fan, but I do like Big Daddy quite a lot as well.
Well, Happy Gilmore is just a genius.
Oh God, Happy Gilmore! I love Happy Gilmore.
It's one of the best comedies ever made.
The Price is Wrong, bitch. But so The Wedding Singer, one of the best soundtracks ever included in a movie, and also one of the best
sung by Adam Sandler.
Exactly, and one of the best musician cameos in any movie ever. Billy Idol in The Wedding Singer, 8 p.m. Thursday night on 5 Star. And finish out your week, of course, on the Sony Channel at 9 p.m. on Friday night with what might be one of the best sequels ever made. It's Blade Runner 2049. Were you a fan of this?
Oh, absolutely. I love the original Blade Runner. I've seen all 57 cuts of it.
I think you might have still missed off 5 somehow.
This was the film that, of course, finally won Roger Deakins his best cinematography Oscar, and deservedly so. I mean, he did the original Blade Runner, but visually it's just a stunning film, particularly the rain sequence in it. And I thought it was a wonderful movie. I loved it.
I think it was great. Like you say about Roger Deakins' cinematography, every single frame of this movie is a work of art unto itself.
Well,
you could literally
the way
take
he
any,
is. You could take any frame of this film and stick it on your wall. Yeah.
Great performance from Ryan Gosling, Robin Wright as well. I quite like in this as well. Anna de Armas, who never gets the credit she deserves for this movie. Mackenzie Davis. Obviously, Harrison Ford comes back. Yeah. There is a pretty effective turn from Jared Leto. There is a surprise cameo that is pulled off quite well with visual effects. And you know what? Most importantly, And just to loop it back to one of our other releases for this week, it does star Dave Bautista. So, let's not bury the lead on that.
But I'll be honest, I have no idea what the story is. But you kind of don't need to do it.
I do remember what the story on this is. It is about, isn't it about a dead woman who is found and her body contains a secret that will rock the status quo of synthetics and humans and the relationship between them? Something like that. I'll tell you what, find out for yourself though. Friday night, 9 p.m. on the Sony Channel. And we're back, and this time it's all about, well, your schedule. So, shiny discs, on demand, whatever takes your fancy. So let's start then, Mr. Hurn, with what's coming to DVD and Blu-ray for this week.
Okay, hit me.
Okay, so I don't know if you had the opportunity to see this upon its initial release. It's, of course, Last Christmas.
Really?
Did you have the pleasure or did you not? I can't tell from that.
No, well, I can't say I had the pleasure of watching this film. I watched this film.
You watched it, we didn't have the pleasure.
Oh, it's... what I didn't like about... Okay, yeah,
we should say what it's about first.
Yeah,
so this is the Christmas rom-com, directed by Paul Feig.
Yeah.
Written by Emma Thompson.
Yeah.
Co-starring Emma Thompson. It primarily stars, however, Emilia Clarke and Henry Golding. Yeah. Two of the best-looking human beings walking the earth today. She's dressed...
Apart from us two, of course.
Apart from us two. I mean,
that's why we're on radio.
We're complete smoke shows.
Yeah.
That's why we literally have the faces for radio. Yeah. And we mean that in the before live streaming sense. So two best-looking human beings walking the earth today, and she's perennially dressed as a Christmas elf because she works in a Covent Garden Christmas store for Michelle Yeoh. Yeah. And why specifically Michelle Yeoh, I'm not entirely sure. But she encounters him one night. He's something of a sort of kind of a Jack the Lad, does whatever he feels kind of a type, but he's effortlessly charming, and his whole thing is he's going to help her overcome her own sort of, well, self-disdain, her own lack of self-belief, and, make her love herself as much as he clearly does.
Is that really a good nutritional choice?
Oh, God, don't you stop. Where are you?
Look up.
Yeah.
After what you've been through, I mean, shouldn't you be eating quinoa and kale or something?
Yeah, but this admittedly rank burger is all part of my grand plan to become a famous singer and die like Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse and all the rest at the age of 27.
How old are you?
45.
Oh, good to have dreams.
Not really, I'm 26.
Well, thank God. Still have time. Come on.
Where?
Get rid of that.
Wait.
Let's go. I've got a surprise for you.
Who doesn't love Emilia Clarke, though, to be fair? I mean,
that's why I watched the film. I do love Emilia Clarke.
I mean, I'd die for Emilia Clarke right now. Never met the woman, but I'd anything, man. I'll throw myself on the sofa for
Only
Emilia
when
Clarke.
she has a dragon with her, though.
Actually, no, Sarah Connor every time. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, okay, so I've got a lot of respect for Emma Thompson, Oscar-winning screenwriter, of course, but she won an Oscar for adapting a story.
Hey,
and this is the issue.
Wasn't
Yeah,
it?
this is the issue I've got. She might be an Oscar-winning screenwriter, but she didn't write an original story. And this is her attempt to write an original story. And it kind of doesn't work. And I think the reason it doesn't work, and I'm choosing my words carefully here, because the reason it doesn't work for me is the big twist in it near the end actually shouldn't be a twist. The big twist at the end, which you can kind of pretty much guess because it's been done before.
It's literally the first line of the song "Last Christmas." Yes, yeah,
exactly. So you can guess what the twist is. I think it would have been better if at the beginning of the film we were made aware of this, and the audience was made aware, and Emilia Clarke's character, was aware of this and knew. So it wasn't a twist that she suddenly discovers and the audience discovers. It was something she knew and went along with. And I think that would have made it a much more interesting film, because it would have been on more levels than just this kind of sort of jolly little rom-com.
I mean, I personally enjoyed it. I took it at face value as the jolly little rom-com that it is. I didn't mind it. I thought it had just enough charm to work. It had a good vibe. It had a good energy. And really, it was about the chemistry between the two of those. But having said that, I do think, as you were saying about Emma Thompson, I think there is that feeling through this that she's trying to create a Richard Curtis movie.
Yes.
And you do feel like what you've just described is what Richard Curtis would have written.
Yes.
And yes, I would prefer that movie. I don't object to this particular one. I had a good time watching it. I like the film very much for what it is. But I do agree, it could have been a much more interesting film, much more knowing film, I think. Also, weirdly enough, not quite enough George Michael for me in this film. Like, kind of would have liked more George Michael music. Where's my Fast Love, man?
Yeah.
I want Amazing up in there. That's what I want. I want. Where's Father Figure? Give me Father Figure.
Club Tropicana.
Yeah. Let's see. I go for the moodier. I go for the moodier ones. I think.
Wake Me Up Before You Go.
So that's on DVD and Blu-ray from Monday the 16th. Let's talk streaming then. We've got a couple of interesting ones coming to one for Netflix, one for Amazon Prime, both on Monday the 16th. First one coming to Netflix. It Chapter 1 is coming to Netflix on Monday the 16th.
All 6 hours of it.
Well, it's only Chapter 1, thankfully, but it's still about 3 hours, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
They're both quite long.
They are very long films.
Yeah, but it's the story of the kids in the town of Derry discovering the evil clown whose name you will know from this clip.
Hiya, Georgie. What a nice boat. Do you want it back?
Yes, please.
You look like a nice boy. I bet you have a lot of friends.
3. My brother's my bestest.
Where's he?
In bed, sick.
I bet I could cheer him up. I'll give him a balloon. Do you want a balloon too, Georgie?
I'm not supposed to take stuff from strangers.
Oh, well, I'm Pennywise, the dancing clown. Pennywise? Yes, meet Georgie. Georgie, meet Pennywise. Now we aren't strangers, are we?
Hiya, Georgie. I love Bill Skarsgård as
He's very
Pennywise.
good.
He's so good,
If you
isn't he?
painted your face white, you could pass with him. If
You think I
stick
could
it, yeah,
pass
if you're going to
with
hide and drain
Pennywise?
somewhere, we could act that out.
Look, I only hide in drains at the weekends, and look, that's only a hobby, okay? It's only a hobby. I don't make a thing of it, and I'll say, I don't like to draw attention to myself. Okay, so It Chapter 1, can't recommend highly enough. Put Andy Muschietti on the map, really, as a director. I think his direction for both this and the sequel were pretty good. I think for the problems with the sequel, obviously, are related entirely to the scripting, the writing
Too long,
of it.
and they go into too much kind of backstory with all the characters, and you didn't need to do it.
Also, nobody cares about them as adults.
Because they go all these sort of backstories, and it starts off the first backstory, they go into quite detail, sort of 10, 15 minutes. Okay, fair enough, it's the first one. And then the second one goes into the backstory of detail of 10, 15 minutes. You think, okay, all right. And then it does the third one. You think, hang on a minute, there's like 7 of them.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to go through this for that's an hour of my life, just getting all this backstory I don't need.
That's it, isn't it? An hour of It Chapter 2 is It Chapter 1.5.
Yeah.
Which really annoys me, because we had It Chapter 1, and apparently there's a whole other section that takes place like a month later. But just so they have an excuse to de-age the kids and make it a sequel to the one that made, near $1 billion kind of thing. Infinitely more enjoyable than It Chapter 2. However, we were talking about It Chapter 1, which is great. Infinitely more enjoyable than It Chapter 2, however, is Gorinda Chadha's Blinded by the Light, which I know Bex is a big fan of. This is on Amazon Prime from Monday the 16th. Did you have the chance to see this one?
I'm going to shock you here. I didn't like this at all.
Did you not like this? I would have thought this was right up your alley.
So did I. I was really looking forward to it. I'm not a massive Springsteen fan. It's but
I'm not at all.
Based on a true story about a young Indian kid who in the I think it was 70s or 80s who really gets into
Bruce
the
Springsteen.
80s, yeah. And I thought, this has got good potential. But I just found it really flat and dull. It just didn't grab me at all.
Let's have a quick listen.
First day, start at the top and stay there. Study hard, so you don't have to work in a factory like me all your life.
Yes, Dad.
If you want to succeed, look for the Jews in your class. Do what the Jews do. They're very successful people.
I think that's a bit racist, Dad.
It's the truth.
Oh, hi!
Hey, you're here to study, okay? I'll find you a wife in good time. You leave that to me. And remember, stay away from the girls. Follow the Jews.
I thought this had a bit, the right level of heart and rebellious energy to it, and I quite liked it. It gave me some feels.
There's one bit in it that really annoyed me, sort of about 2/3 of the way through, or towards the end, when they go to America to sort of go to where Springsteen's from.
They do, yes, the whole thing.
And
isn't
there's
it?
a scene where they get to America and they're in customs.
Yes. Yeah.
And they get questioned and whatever, and it's clearly a small studio set with a table and a curtain. Right, now, if you're going to spend all this money getting all the Springsteen music and they do spend a bit of money on recreating the period and everything, Why would you put that scene? Why
I
not go
know.
to an airport and do that? It doesn't
I
cost that
get
much
it,
to rent a room in an airport. No, that really annoyed me. And also, the scene was completely pointless. You didn't even need that scene. And I thought, how on earth can a director of her experience allow such a poorly executed scene to be in this film?
On the plus side, at least it's on Prime, so at least you don't have to ask for a refund if you don't enjoy it. But so next, let's talk about what's out next week, because we've got some interesting ones. We've got Radioactive next week.
Looking forward to that.
Is that about the woman that invented radiation?
It's about the woman who invented radiation, as a friend of ours said.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've got A Quiet Place Part 2 next week.
Yeah, I wasn't a massive fan of A Quiet Place. I just got annoyed by the beginning of that, because I thought if you've got to be really quiet, then you make sure that your 5-year-old doesn't have a toy truck that makes noises. And you don't let your 5-year-old kid walk behind you when there are creatures that can eat you.
My favourite thing about A Quiet Place is, as my friend John Nottingham brilliantly pointed out, this is about the first movie, he asked the question, did they have to go behind the waterfall to fart? Which does redefine how you process A Quiet Place. So we've got number 2 next week. We've got Astronauts as well. I'm not sure what the crack is with that one. System Crasher, Fire Will Come. We've got a documentary about Buster Keaton, The Great Buster.
Yeah, I'm looking to
And new Curzon release, The Truth, which I'm hoping is not a feature-length adaptation of the
You
X-Files
can handle
finale.
The Truth.
But, well, let's hope we can, because we've got to talk about it next week. In the meanwhile, don't forget, check back in next week. Keep it cinematic. In the meanwhile, I've been Van Connor.
I've been Jonnie Hurn.
And we shall return.